Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very delighted to welcome you tonight in this very beautiful hall of the Museum of Arts, Fine Arts, surrounded by a gallery of displaying la crème de la crème of European paintings for the gala dinner of our flagship event, Business Europe Day 2020. Unfortunately, Commissioner Phil Hogan, who is taking care of a crucial common European policy, trade policy, and had accepted to join us this evening, had to cancel his participation, but has kindly delegated his Chief of Staff, Peter Power. Dear Peter, thank you for stepping in tonight. We already had the pleasure of welcoming your Commissioner for the presentation of our strategy paper on China, and he has always responded positively when we invited him to address the European business community. We really appreciate his commitment, and he knows that in this extremely challenging time for trade policy, he can count on our support. Trade is probably the policy on which Business Europe and its members communicate most frequently, but there is never enough communication on these hotly debated topics. Dear members of Business Europe, this is the 5th edition of our flagship event since 2014, but the very first one under the Commission. The fact that our members' federations are all represented at the highest level by your presidents, by your vice presidents or director general, accompanied by a delegation of national entrepreneurs, and the presence of so many companies of our advisory and support group, shows that there is a strong commitment to the 3 pillars agenda that we define for the European Union in 2020-2024 under the slogan Prosperity, People, Planet. Prosperity, People, Planet will be the leitmotif of our discussions tomorrow. I will therefore not say more about this tonight, and I would like, without further ado, I will give the floor to Peter Power. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, I would like to express regret on behalf of Commissioner Hogan that he cannot be here tonight. He had to go to a funeral in Ireland today, so he left for Dublin this morning. But he very much asked me to convey his very best wishes for the event tonight and tomorrow. Commissioner Hogan and his team are extremely appreciative of the close relationship we have with Business Europe and its constituent members. Your strong contribution to the development of EU policy, particularly when it comes to trade, is much appreciated. The Commission's role as the engine of EU policy making is to create the best conditions for your members to do what they do best, which is to grow the economy, create jobs, and provide products and services which customers enjoy and trust. The policy agenda of this new Commission under President von der Leyen is very ambitious for European business. We want to support and incentivize businesses to become global leaders across a wide range of areas, reflected in the Green Deal, the upcoming industrial strategy, and the digital agenda. We know that stability is vital for business planning, and we appreciate that you're facing challenging global trading environment at present. One of the key priorities of this Commission is for Europe to leverage its strength as a trading bloc. In other words, to be more assertive on the global stage. This means defending multilateralism, promoting our values, and strengthening the toolbox for trade defence. Commissioner Hogan is working hard to promote these values. Your support is vital for this task too. Now, as the only obstacle between you and your dinner, I propose to quickly run through our main trading priorities. We've been putting a huge effort recently into relaunching or refreshing the relationship with the United States. Commissioner Hogan has been there twice already this year, and he plans to go again in 10 days' time. President von der Leyen and President Trump had a very successful meeting in Davos. We need to build on that momentum, and we are working hard within the mandate the Council has given us. The work is not easy, but there is real commitment on both sides to find and deliver a worthwhile outcome. But let me be clear, there is no silver bullet. There is no low-hanging fruit. The work is slow, detailed, granular, and covering a diverse range of issues. Commissioner Hogan has enjoyed a very good relationship with Ambassador Lighthizer and Larry Kudlow. We're building on this, and we believe that now there is momentum to create something that is worthwhile and it can bring stability to the relationship across the Atlantic. The upcoming elections in the United States, the spread of the coronavirus and the volatility of the stock market are all threats that come with us as we pass time. The transatlantic relationship is too important and too deep not to move forward. The scope for further cooperation is good. Some examples would include cooperation on the development of standards for emerging technologies, working together with China and the crisis at the WTO. The recent trilateral agreement between the United States, Japan and the European Union is hugely important in terms of the signal it sends and what can be achieved if we do work together. Our long-term vision is for a more stable multilateral trading environment, which the world urgently needs. The challenges are around technology and the digital space, climate crisis, security and migration. Our immediate priority is to build a coalition to spearhead WTO reform. This is the key to unlocking the current impasse in global trade. The current rulebook is out of date, and the rules-based multilateral system has drifted away from the economic and business realities of today. The WTO needs a profound overhaul. Twinkling at the edges will not work. In 2 weeks' time, Commissioner Hogan will deliver a keynote address at Georgetown University on what he sees as his vision for WTO reform. This will be an important speech which will hopefully gather support. The following day, he goes to Ottawa to speak to the Ottawa group of pro-reform member countries. Again, I think it's important that you as business leaders beat the drum for WTO reform. We're at a critical moment in the life of the WTO, and it is important that leaders know that businesses want a successful and functioning WTO system. Of course, we must also be mindful of our home patch. When it comes to protecting the internal market, we need to strengthen our toolbox of defence measures, and we must show a greater willingness to use these tools. This does not in any way compromise our belief in open markets. A Europe that protects is not a protectionist Europe, and all we ask for is fairness and a level playing field. We are particularly conscious of the increasing challenge posed by China. Commissioner Hogan was very pleased to launch your strategy paper on China in January. The document provides a very useful input into one of the biggest policy challenges facing Europe in the new decade. These challenges can be remedied in part by a new regulation on investment screening, which is in force and its implementation comes in October. The proposal to modify EU export control regime is currently the subject of dialogue between the European Parliament, the Commission and the Council. We're working to develop instruments addressing distortions in the internal market, and we expect to have more news on this shortly. Of course, the appointment of a Chief Trade Enforcement Officer is also quite a big event, and this position will have real teeth with dedicated staff within the DG. We expect the new role to be operational by the summer. Can I finally touch on Brexit? The EU wants a negotiated settlement arrived at in good faith. We believe that minimising the damage for all sides seems like the most sensible thing to do. It is an absolute priority for the Commission and the Member States that the withdrawal agreement is respected in full, in spirit and in letter. And I can say that despite the heightened rhetoric over recent weeks coming from some, we've had 3 days of negotiations already this week with the British. They're approaching these talks in a serious and studied manner, and I think we've gotten off to a good start. The hope now is that this lasts. I will conclude my remarks by urging you to remain vocal and committed on our agenda. Keep sharing your insights into the real economy and your experiences from the world of business, because only by working together can we develop the best policies for our citizens. And in return, I want to stress our commitment to working closely with you over the next 5 years. Together, we will be stronger and more effective. Thank you and enjoy your dinner.